I just wanted to first ask you a bit of a non-footballing question, really, and ask you about MEE. And he's been obviously doing a lot of media work this week talking about premature birth. How proud are you as a club of what he's doing at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, he went through a really tough spell. His family went through a really tough spell, I should say. But he's part of that, you know, the worry and the concern, the challenge of that and staying focused. We obviously supported the best we could, but there's no true support in that situation. I mean, look, he's a grounded, balanced fella, you know, very caring about his family, like most are. And I think, you know, he's in a situation which he's dealt with very, very well amongst other situations that he's dealt with very, very well. And that all kind of encapsulates on a lesser level than real life with his family. But, you know, why he's end up being a captain, you know, because often there's a maturity to a captain. Some captains are by performance, of course, but with him, it's not only performance, it's a maturity to what he is and who he is.
I think for fans as well, it's important to know that, you know, players aren't just robots that they see every weekend on the field. There's real people, there's real stories behind them, would you say?
Yeah, but you don't want to get too deep into that. It's a fan business, you know. And I mean, sometimes, you know, the other week we were talking about Steve Bruce and some of the comments he'd made about, you know, the realities of the job. Players have a different version of that. But, you know, you don't want to get too pure about it. You know, players are out there playing football. You have fans. They don't think, you don't have fans coming into a stadium thinking every bit of depth about everyone's lives. But sometimes it's nice to know, you know, remind them that they are human beings. There are a life behind what they do at their varying football clubs at all levels. And sometimes that does get lost a bit in a stadium. But I don't think outside of a stadium that gets lost. I'm sure fans are certainly of mind that these are human beings, and certainly of mind, hopefully, the way modern media is. There's a lot of good they do as well, and there's a lot of things and challenges they have away from the football pitch, unfortunately often from footballers. The good stuff doesn't really make the news very much. It's virtually the bad stuff that makes the news, unfortunately.
And for Ben, on footballing terms, is there a latest on his contract situation? Is there any movement on him potentially staying beyond the end of this season?
He's just like the others in the sense that we stay open-minded with their situations, dialogue between the club and their agents and the like. So, yeah, he understands where that's at.
And there's been a bit of a noise around James Tarkowski again this week.
You don't say, as if by magic. Well, I'm blown away by that. Incredible.
Are you able to reassure supporters that he'll be here? And
no, I'll reassure you and everyone else the same as I always reassure everyone about every situation. Football changes. If it changes, it does. If it doesn't, then we're happy with that. It's just the way it goes. You know, we can't. You can't, especially in this modern time in football. Contracts now are a different ball game. You know, 20 years ago it was a different thing. Now people sign a contract, 6 months later they're sold, and all the rest of it. You know, so it's a different ball game. All I would say about James, he's a fantastic professional. He has been since he's been here, and he continues to be. His form this season is absolutely top draw. I'm still scratch my head about how he doesn't get in the England setup. But that's one of them challenges for Gareth. He's got a lot of good players he has to pick from. That's my focus with him, and he keeps doing the business.
And you mentioned, obviously, there's a number of players who are going to be out of contract. I wonder whether you look at Palace, who were in a similar situation to yourselves, really, at the back end of last season, where they had a number of players, I think more than 10 out of contract, and they've gone out, recruited, they've come back this season almost a Crystal Palace 2.0. Do you look at their situation as a similar one to yours this summer, where there might be a reboot?
Well, firstly, I didn't mention the contracts, you did. But secondly, they have got a situation where they had a lot of contracts up. They've done really well, it looks like to me, recruiting, or certainly so far in their early season form. Not an easy task by any means. They've also got some very good pros there, though. You know, and they've still got a kind of a group of professionals built around the group that were there, because they've got some very good professionals there, in my opinion. And they've made a nice start to the season. So, you know, it's a tough ask nowadays going out and recruiting. But to be fair to Palace, they've put a few quid in there as well. You know, they're not looking for waifs and strays. They've put a few quid in there over the last few years. So fair play to the ownership there as well.
And Palace is a club that you've been linked with before, but have you been impressed with the development of them as a football club over the last couple of years?
I don't think my links are relevant, but I think as a football club, I think they're like all clubs. They want to develop, they want to move forward. They've had ideas about the stadium. I know they've got some big backers go in there and the like. And I mean, look, it's not an easy task. I've always respected clubs like Palace. I played against them many moons ago in the Championship more so, and they've become a Premier League club. Now they go about their business on and off the pitch. It looks to me like a really good club, good support as well. It's a good rounded situation. It's different to ourselves, but similar in the sense that I think there's a respect there for clubs like Crystal Palace.
And in the last international break, I mean, we're in a position again that you've probably answered this question before, but another two managers have lost their jobs at Norwich and Villa over the international break, and it means that Burnley are the only club in the bottom five that haven't changed their manager this season. I mean, what does that say about perhaps the decision makers in football, and are you the perfect example of what can happen if you stick with a manager?
I don't think I'm the perfect example. I think the ownership and then the change of ownership have stood by me in different ways. Different clubs have different formats. Different clubs have different beliefs in what they should be doing. One of the managers, don't forget, has gone straight back in Dean Smith. What I will say, the view of management has changed from the media, because Dean, I think, after the beginning of the season was being lauded, and 5 games later he's out, and then he's into another club. So that's an interesting one for me. The short-termism of the media view, how he's playing amazing stuff and doing brilliantly, and then 5 games later he's off. So that, aligned with the realities of football management, it's very tough. Maybe because of my years in service, the ownership have built a way of working with me and the way I work with the club that they've been happy with. It might be that. The obvious one, though, I mean, my life here is not a never-ending story. I've said many, many times, you've got to win games. We're getting back to somewhere where we think we can be. But I've had spells here when I've been questioned from the fans. Not very often, but there has been questions. This season, there will have been, definitely. The only way to change the question is by winning games. Eventually all managers know the way it works. You have to win games, or you have to win enough games, of course, to be deemed whatever the club decided a success. Some clubs it's very, very, very difficult, including our own. Others it's easier just to win games, but their challenge is different, of course. If you're at the top 6, it's not just about winning games. It's about, can you get into Europe? Can you go into the top slots? Can you win the league? Etc., etc. Everyone in the Premier League has a different challenge. Every board, chief exec, technical director will have a view of what they think their challenge and realities are. Sometimes the realities are there and we all agree with it. Sometimes the weird world of football, the realities get thrown out the window and everyone scratches their head. That's just the way football is.
And just finally from me, the team news for this weekend, has everyone come back from internationals okay?
Yeah, we're getting back to full strength, and Dale Steens has been out on the grass. He's had another reserve game, and he's not there yet, but he's getting back to real fitness as well. Barnes has got a little niggle, so we'll have a look at him. Maxwell was a longer journey, so he's back into it later today, ready for tomorrow. So pretty much we're okay.
Chris Wood's come back okay?
Yeah, he has, yeah.
And Lennon recovered from illness?
Yeah, he's good, yeah.
Lovely, great. Good luck this weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Katie Shanahan, PLP, please.
Hi, Sean. Good to see you.
Hiya.
2 big results against Brentford and Chelsea before the international break. What worked particularly well in those games that you'll be looking to repeat on Saturday?
Well, the Brentford game took care of itself with a real performance. Maybe they had a quieter day. We were very good on the day. Took the chance that we created and kept them to, pretty much saw the game through in a way that we can do in the Premier League. Chelsea was a whole different ball game. They could have scored early. It could have been a different story. Nick Pope was on form. We've defended for our lives at times. And we've stuck in there and got a nice point against all the odds, and we can do that. We have done that down the years, and you do need a bit of luck along the way because they missed a couple of big chances. So different feel. We've only had 1 loss in 5, so therefore the mentality's been good. But it doesn't guarantee the next one. But I think there's a different show of us. I thought, as I said, Brentford, we were very good, played some good stuff on the front foot, mixed our play well, and affected the game well. Chelsea was a different ball game. We had to just dig in and fight and do all the ugly stuff. And work to get a chance, which we did. Take the chance, then you get a point.
Have you seen a lift from the players following those 2 big results?
I mention it all the time. The players here are pretty firm-minded. The environment that we set, the way that we work is always pretty positive anyway. But what it does, it enhances the fact that they are putting the work in during the week. They are putting the shift into the games. And when you get them wins, it just reinforces that if you do it right enough, it pays you back. So that's what you're looking for. You know, you're looking for the consistency of performance on a daily basis, as in training and prep, and then you're looking for the consistency within performances to go and win. And I said all along, I don't think we've been far away, but the league table doesn't bother with the details of whether you're far away. The league table only bothers, did you win and did you get points? So that's the way it goes.
Patrick Vieira has been at Palace for 5 months now and guided them to a 6-match unbeaten run. What do you think he's changed since coming in to help Palace's form this season?
Well, along with the recruitment, I think it looks to me just trying to bring that new manager edge, you know, a little bit more maybe on the front foot at times, still trying to pass, still trying to play. A couple of players who are maybe quieter in their performance level are beginning to show signs. So, and the newness of new players going in. But I don't know him that well. I met him recently, actually, by chance. And I did remind him, enjoy it now, because it doesn't last forever. I did say that to him, because I've been down that road. But, you know, at the end of the day, he'll be trying to get his point across to the players. I don't think he's naive. I think he's been around the game long enough to know the challenge of the Premier League. So I'm sure he doesn't think they're the real deal and they're a done deal or anything like that. I'm sure he'll know that he's got to keep working with them players to keep them going.
And finally from me, Burnley have won their last 3 matches against Palace without conceding. So what do you want to see from your players this weekend to repeat that same success?
Just a building process of the performances we've had this pre-season. This pre-season and in the season. Continue to add the layers of detail, continue to get on the right side of the margins. You know, we're always aware of the opposition. I mention it all the time. Like most teams, by the way, we all analyse the opposition, have the stats, the facts, but it still comes down to you performing. And I enhance that to the players all the time. We've not been far away. We're very, very strong against Brentford. We'll have to do that again against a good side in Palace. And that's just the nature of the league.